Coming to you from Charleston, South Carolina, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Joey.
And I'm Mason. This is TBD SportsCast,
where we determine the most important sports topics of this weekend.
On this episode, we'll be discussing the big matchups from last week, the top 2 matchups from this week, the college playoff rankings, the top 25 matchups, and we'll begin discussing the NFL this weekend. A lot of stuff to cover today, so let's get into it, starting with last week's Indiana versus Ohio State.
The Indiana 10, Fields looking, guns it, touchdown Wilson. Penix, sidearm, caught, touchdown Indiana, whop. Keep kids in the game. Here's Master T, he finds the edge, turns it up, Master T, burst of speed, Master T, touchdown. Master T in the backfield, they give it to him, looking for big dirt, and it's got a touchdown, Ohio State. IU9, Fields, in trouble, Fields, turning, Fields, touchdown. Penix, Scott's open in the flats, Penix over the middle, call, Fry, Fogel, with the burst of speed, Fry, Fogel, touchdown IU. Penix rolling out of the pocket to a strong hand, delivers deep down the field, touchdown, Fry, Fogel, again. Penix, sideline. Fourth down. Penix underneath, and this time he gets David Ellis. Touchdown, Indiana. Zony's going to have to throw it about 60-plus yards, and they don't. They go short, and here comes the stuff. Back to Penix across the field. They worked on this. Ellis running, pitches it backwards, loose, and coming up by Ohio State. And the Buckeyes will survive this one.
So when I was watching this Ohio State-Indiana game, first of all, the first thing I was thinking was Ohio State was not looking like their usual selves.
Oh, no. It was so terrible.
I mean, you look at it, and Justin Fields, who everybody's looking at and saying possible Heisman winner, threw 3 interceptions and only 2 touchdowns, 300 yards, which is still decent, but then you look at his opponent who had 491 yards, and he's not even known to be a throwing quarterback necessarily. He's very mobile. He's very good with his feet. 5 touchdowns and 1 interception for him. So, I mean, what did you take out of this Indiana game?
I took out of this Indiana game that this is the best team that Ohio State has played yet. They were huge on turnover chain. They got so many fumbles, so many interceptions, and they were talking about during the game that Indiana is just known for this, and they're great at it, and they did it against Ohio State. So, yeah, I would say that this is definitely the toughest team that Ohio State has faced. And also last week, we talked about if they lose this game, are they still looking like a top 10 team? And I would say that, yes, they are still looking like a top 10 team. They didn't play that great in the first half, but they were on the comeback in the second half, and I believe that if there would have been more time, obviously, it's an if-then situation. But if they had had more time, they would have been able to come back and win the game, I think. They only lost by a touchdown. I would say that, yeah, they're looking like a top 10 team.
For me, I think my big thing for this game, I mean, you really look at it, I mean, Indiana had -1 rushing yards total for that game. Meanwhile, Ohio State had 307, and it still ended as close as it did, So when you look at that and you look at how Justin Fields played, and it's hard to say that Ohio State really deserved that top 4 spot. I mean, you also got to look at this. Indiana's opponents before Ohio State, their total record is 2-12. And they were put in the top 10.
Yep.
And
it's ridiculous. I completely disagree with it. I mean, what is Ohio State? They're 4-0, so they're quote-unquote undefeated. They've played Penn State, Rutgers, Nebraska, and Indiana. Does that sound like a all-star cast to you?
I mean, no. But
no.
Yeah, I mean, when
it's
you
like
really
I said
look,
last week. It's like I said last week. I'm sorry. But it's like they said last week. They haven't shown me that they deserve to be in the playoffs because they haven't played anybody. Do they have Justin Fields? Yes. Is he a great player? Yes. But is that the entire team? No. They're not that great on defense. They've played crap teams. They played a struggle win against Nebraska. Mm-hmm. Wasn't great. and they played a struggle win against Indiana as well. They're not playing like a top 10 team.
No,
I don't care if they have Justin Fields. They're not playing like a top 10 team. So that's what I have to say
definitely
about
not
it.
in that game either. Like, even just watching Kirk Herbstreit's talk about it and stuff like that. I mean, and again, we'll go over the college playoff rankings and what we think about them later, but I do agree with what he said, which was the way they played against their first real, quote-unquote real top opponent was nothing like a top 4 team. You look at the Clemson Notre Dame game, you could tell it was 2 top 4 teams. Granted, one of the top 4 teams was at a disadvantage due to health and all that stuff, but you could still tell it was top 4 teams facing off against each other. And this Ohio State game was just lackluster and nothing close to it. So, but next we're going to actually move on to the other game in our top 2 from last week, which is Oklahoma State versus Oklahoma. So let's look into that real quick.
Bacon, keeper, scores, standing up, Spencer Rattler and the Sooners right down the field. 2 touchdowns as a high school senior in Texas. Rattler on the run, puts it in the flat. Henderson's got space. Henderson's got a touchdown. 2 possessions, 2 scores for the Sooners. Star recruit. He's now a star of this defense. Rattler flips it back, shoulder throw. 3 possessions and 3 touchdowns. Takes to Hubbard, Illingworth, sets his feet, fires, end zone, touchdown. Stevenson approaching 100 yards. Here's a little trickery. And the quarterback flips it in the flat to Jeremiah Hall, who scores.
Bent back healthy, how could they not be, right?
4th down, Rattler back, pedals and lobs it wide open. Weiss for the touchdown.
So I was wrong.
You were 100% wrong. I would just like to put this out there. Ladies and gentlemen, I was texting Mason that entire night telling him, I called it. He's going off about the Georgia game. I'm like, I called it.
So yes, I was wrong. And we will talk about JT Daniels and the Georgia game
100%.
a lot later. But yeah, this game did not go out like I thought it would at all. It ended and it was like a 20-point Oklahoma lead over Oklahoma State. So like Joey with Arizona and USC, I was wrong. I admit it. I was wrong in episode 1 where I said they should be in the top 4, and I've been wrong. So there you go.
100% you were wrong. I mean, but the thing is, it's hard to tell with those games.
Yeah.
You know, because you really look at it and you look at college football and you say defense wins games, right? And I said it last week, when it comes down to Oklahoma and their football team, you can't go by that because their offense is so lethal. They have so many weapons, whether it's the running back position, quarterback, or wide receiver. I mean, they're just incredible. And Oklahoma State has this incredible defense and such, but when their offense can't put up the numbers like Oklahoma is, they're going to get tired, just like how I was saying during the Florida-Georgia game. If the defense is always put out there, then the offense is just going to end up running all over them no matter how good they are. You know, so that's all I got to really say about it. I mean, Oklahoma State's numbers were just disappointing, and it was a very disappointing game.
I mean, Spencer Rattler outthrew Spencer Sanders by 200 yards.
200, yeah, and I mean almost 200 more yards rushing as well total. So, which is crazy to think because Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah, he only ran for 44 yards, which I was about to say is very surprising for Chuba Hubbard. Apparently, Oklahoma's defense came out and took their rushing game away.
I mean, yeah, it's just Oklahoma's offense is just not. It's weird to hear because, like, you look at the Big 12 and you're like, offense. That's what they're known for, not defense, but offense. But now you're looking at it and you're like, Oklahoma State is that one team who has the defense, but because they only have the defense, they can't keep up with the offenses anymore. It's disappointing to see, especially since how Oklahoma State started out the season. They were really good. They were a great team, possibly contending for the playoffs. But after their first loss against Texas and now their second loss against Oklahoma, they're out. And unfortunately, Oklahoma was out early in the season. So,
oh, yeah.
Now on to our next segment. We're going to be checking out our top 2 matchups for next weekend. We got number 2 Notre Dame versus number 19 North Carolina, and number 1 Alabama versus number 22 Auburn.
With a twist.
Notre Dame versus North Carolina.
His quarterback. He's to give Kyron Williams left side. Into the secondary. Williams down the sideline. Kyron Williams. Let's go. Notre Dame. Touchdown. For that 14-yard run. Howell going to keep this one here. Inside the 5. Touchdown, North Carolina.
That's a pretty good blocker. From the 8, here is Book. Scanning. Underneath. It's caught. It's Michael Mann. Into the end zone. Notre Dame touchdown. Howell. Plenty of time. And he gets it complete. And into the end zone goes Brown.
Lindsay, our speed guys. They haven't been able to go much. Corner throw up for grabs for Skoranek. He caught it even with a flag down.
Alabama versus Auburn.
Jones sets. Gonna go deep. Got a man. Got it. Complete. John Mechie. Touchdown. DJ Finley. Oh, too high. Intercepted. Picked off and down the sideline. Could be a pick 6 for Pritchett. Hurry up here for Alabama. Play action. Mac Jones wants it all. Long ball. Mandate. Got it. Mechie. Touchdown. Bigsby, left side, stiff arm, dive, touchdown, Auburn. Paving the way, Jones at 2nd and 6. Great coverage, got Kentucky, he's got nowhere to go. Trying to thread the needle, and he sneaks it in. Devontae Smith.
Many of those 6 teams that I just listed, really good teams, great with the eye test, but the resume is just not there.
Here's Bo Nix on first down. Downfield, wide open, Schwartz. Put it on the board, Flash and Schwartz.
Yeah, so definitely some big matchups here this weekend. So what do you think about North Carolina, Notre Dame?
Well, first off, I just want to say that North Carolina is probably the only team that left on Notre Dame's schedule that could possibly beat them until the ACC championship, where either it's Clemson or Miami, most likely Clemson, unless they lose another game. Another thing is just seeing how this North Carolina offense matches up against the Notre Dame defense. Again, two pretty well-rounded teams. You got North Carolina, who's got a pretty good defense and a good offense as well, and Notre Dame with a clearly a good defense and clearly a good offense as well to be number 2. So I'm just intrigued to see how this turns out.
Yeah, definitely. And I like what you were saying about how UNC is probably the last school in Notre Dame's schedule that could take them out. And I mean, it's crazy because we're getting so close to the end of the season. I mean, we only have a couple more games before we get really into the championships and then into the playoffs. So this is going to definitely be an interesting matchup. And I'd definitely say that my pick, that's a tough one. I mean, Notre Dame, they're undefeated. They're 8-0. They took down, a Trevor Lawrence-less they took down a Trevor Lawrence-less Clemson and beat them there. And then, they just came out. They're coming off a bye week. And, then you got number 19 UNC. They've lost a couple games. Then they lose to Florida State. Lost to Florida State. They're 6-2. I'm going to give this to Notre Dame. I don't think there's any way that UNC can win this. I think they're the team with the best chance left in their schedule, but I don't think it's not a good chance for them to win. So yeah, my pick is definitely Notre Dame.
Yeah, and I wish I could say UNC. I think it is going to be a closer game than what everybody else thinks it's going to be. But I think that Notre Dame will win this. If North Carolina wins this, though, praise the Lord, hallelujah. But yeah, so I don't think UNC can win this at all.
Yeah, and with UNC, would I love for them to win? Yes. Would I love for Notre Dame to get taken down? Absolutely. But is it going to happen? Probably not.
Probably not, no. So our next game is actually number 1 Alabama versus number 22 Auburn. The numbers may not seem like it's a good matchup, but trust me, this game is always a good matchup. You're the big SEC guy. I love to switch it over to you in this kind of conference, so take it away.
Yeah, and I mean, it's going to be a good game, like you said. The Alabama-Auburn game is a game that is timeless as far as crazy things always happening. I mean, look at what happened last year. Auburn was like number 14. Alabama's number 5, right behind the number 4 spot in Georgia, and they're trying to get in there. And what do? They lose to Auburn by a field goal in the Iron Bowl. So anything is possible. I mean, like, look back in 2013 at the kick six. That was probably like the most craziest thing of all time to happen in like something in college football was the kick six, right? Where if people don't know what that is, the kick six was where, it's 1 second left to go in the fourth quarter. Both teams are tied. Alabama tries to kick like a 60-yard field goal. Auburn receiver picks it up in the end zone, and they run it all the way back for a touchdown. Crazy game.
It's insane to think that was all the way back in 2013.
Yeah.
It feels like just a few years ago.
Oh, I know.
But anyways, continue.
Yeah. Anything can happen. Anything is possible. That's why even though Alabama's number 1 and Auburn's 22, it's still hard to pick because it's honestly a guessing game. If you're looking at it for stats, Alabama 100%. If you're looking at it for just straight luck or blessings from the Lord, it's Auburn 100%. Mm-hmm. Auburn has won this game off luck so many times, and it's the one thing that Saban just cannot account for. He can't account for, maybe this will happen, or maybe they won't get this. Maybe we'll be able to just do this and it'll happen. He doesn't account for luck. He's always like, this is what it's got to be. This is what it's going to happen, and that's what it is. So if I had to pick based on stats, Alabama. But again, there's always some luck. There's always something that happens that could go for Auburn's way. So I'm going to pick Alabama, but I will leave that with a grain of salt, saying anything is possible, especially when they're playing Auburn.
And you're rooting for Auburn as well.
I am definitely rooting for Auburn. I need every team above Georgia, the top 8. I need every one of those teams to lose this weekend.
Well, you can leave Clemson alone, but so I'd like to touch up on one thing you said with Nick Saban can't figure it out. Nick Saban is actually going to be out due to COVID as of right now.
That's right.
Unless he goes through all the procedures and somehow manages to get back for the game. I don't think it's possible.
Like the Georgia Alabama game, that was kind of fishy, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I don't think it's possible now due to it. This information is just being released on Wednesday,
which is another huge luck thing, right? For Auburn, this is something that's going to go huge in Auburn's way. That Saban will not be able to be at the game coaching, and that their backup coach will be not their backup coach, but one of their offensive coaches will be coming in to take over for his spot and call the game.
Which is very interesting because one of them is being looked at for a head coaching position at South Carolina.
So this is going to be a huge...
Yeah, this is a big game for him.
Basically like a job interview.
Yeah, pretty much. But like you were saying, Auburn tends to win this game when it comes to luck. Granted, you have Auburn, when they had Cam Newton, totally different team, much better built team back then compared to how Alabama was built, all that such. But ever since then, it's been, like you said, down to luck. And like Bo Nix, I've been explaining to you all year, not even season, all year. Bo Nix is just not my championship quarterback, not the ideal quarterback. And I've said it before, as long as Auburn has Bo Nix at quarterback, they will never reach the championship because he's immature. He doesn't make the right calls. He can make good plays, but he can also make the dumbest plays as well. So I think this comes down to just who's behind center.
Absolutely. And so something else, too, though, that will go in Alabama's favor is that they're playing at Alabama.
Oh, yeah.
So, because they played at Auburn last year, they're bringing it back to Tuscaloosa this year. There's a huge fan atmosphere, even with COVID, and it'll be interesting to see. So, but finally, Joey, who's your pick for this game?
Alabama.
Well, that was easy.
Alabama 100%.
Well, that was easy.
Yeah, I don't think Auburn has any chance. They lost to South Carolina, dude.
Yeah.
There's no shot. There's no shot. I mean,
Well, you're talking about not accounting for luck, though.
not accounting for luck, but there's no shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alabama. So, as we were saying earlier, we're going to talk about the college football playoff rankings real quick. We're going to do the top 6 just to work on time a little bit. So, we're going to start at number 6 with number 6, Florida. I think this is a very interesting choice, putting them underneath some of these teams. But I like the chances of them making the playoffs, so that's a good spot for me. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely would still put them higher. I think that they've played a good season. Their only loss being to Texas A&M, which is still, that's the number 5 team right now. And that was a tough game that they played against them. So I would say that they still deserve to be higher. They've won one more game than Texas A&M, and honestly, I think they should be above Ohio State because, as we've mentioned, or as I've mentioned in the past, I do not think that Ohio State should be even in the playoffs at this point. So,
and I'm going to try and fly through these because I have a little tangent to go off of. But number 5, like we said, Texas A&M, and I think the only reason they're above Florida is because of that win over Florida. Some people say that shows that they're better than Florida. It doesn't.
Yeah, I disagree with that statement 100%, and I think that Texas A&M probably deserves to either stay here but be below Florida or be at number 6.
Yeah. So. Number 4, Ohio State. We both know how we feel about that. We're not liking that much
at all. I think that Ohio State, if they were going to be in the top 6, should be at number 6 or not even in the top 6 at all.
Yeah. Number 3, Clemson. You know, as a Clemson fan, I'm okay with that.
Here we go.
So here's my thing, and I'll say that I've been texting Mason about this, and I had this long text message that I sent to him saying that I would honestly be okay for Clemson to be at number 4. But some of the things that I've been hearing, especially on ESPN, to hear that Cincinnati belongs above Clemson, that Clemson shouldn't be in the top 6 and stuff like that. I just have to ask, are you out of your mind? You know, because you really look at this and you look, if you put Cincinnati in the top 4, who in the top 4 do you think they would beat? I don't see them beating Alabama anytime soon. I don't see them beating Notre Dame. If Ohio State was in the top 4 instead of Clemson, they wouldn't beat Ohio State. Now, I've been saying all season long that I love Cincinnati's team. I've been ride or die with them, and I hope they do really great. I hope they get in the New Year's 6. But I don't think they will be in the playoffs because they don't belong. You see BYU dropped all the way down to 14 because their strength of schedule. Not because they're not good, but because their strength of schedule. Florida, they could beat Alabama. They could beat Notre Dame. Ohio State they could beat. And Clemson they could beat. So that's one team that I can attest, yeah, they belong in the playoffs. Texas A&M, they can't beat Alabama. They showed that. I don't believe they can beat Clemson. Jimbo Fisher against Clemson does not have a positive record. The only time he did was with Jameis Winston. Ohio State versus Texas A&M. Honestly, I think that would be a good game, but I think Ohio State would win that. And Notre Dame, I think Notre Dame would beat Texas A&M. So when I'm looking at this, I'm saying to you right now, the top 4 is the top 4. Now, the order, that's a whole different subject, but the top 4 belongs there. Because when you put everybody else in there, there's just no shot. It's almost like putting Oklahoma back in there. I mean, every time they've put Oklahoma in there, I've called it every season. Oklahoma isn't going to go further than the first round.
Well, I think that Georgia still could be in the top 4. I think they've not played like they deserve to be there, but if we're going with that type of logic, I think that Georgia could beat any one of those teams in the top 4. Now, the only reason that I would say that we don't deserve to be there is because of our defense. Our defense is crapped on us. We can talk about that in a little bit, but I just wanted to kind of make that statement by that logic.
And you know what? If we were talking about Georgia that played against Mississippi State minus the defense, if we were talking solely based off of Georgia's offense that game, I would 100% agree with you.
Yeah, but it's because of the defense.
But due to how the defense has been playing this year, and their record, there's just I like that the playoff committee is still giving them a shot. Because say Florida loses to Alabama in the SEC championship, Florida's going to come down, Georgia's going to come up. Then you got Cincinnati, who they're probably going to win out, but Georgia can still jump over Cincinnati anytime. Northwestern's looking like they're going to have to face Ohio State soon. That's pretty clear call. And Texas A&M, I mean, I think Georgia still has a shot. It takes a lot, but I think Georgia still has a chance. But what I'm saying is I think the top 4 now is the top 4 later. I don't think there's going to be much of a difference.
Yeah. So moving back to Clemson, I would definitely say that I think Clemson deserves to be here. I think that they could deserve the number 4 spot. But either way, like I said a couple weeks ago, I need to see Trevor Lawrence play again in order to solidify that number 3 spot. I need to know that Clemson lost to Notre Dame because Trevor Lawrence was not in that game. So when I see that, and I see him come out this weekend and play unranked Pitt, who's 5-4, and they kick the crap out of him, that's when I know that Clemson deserves to be at that number 3 spot.
And I'm going to say this now before we fly through our predictions, and just say that Pitt needs to be scared. Because, first of all, and pardon my language, but Clemson's pissed off. Clemson had a chance of facing Florida State this past weekend, having everybody back and healthy and ready to go. Gets to Tallahassee just to be turned back around. We're not going to discuss that too much due to just it's been sparking a lot of arguments and stuff with other people. But Clemson's pissed off. And this gives them 2 weeks now to prepare for this Pittsburgh game. Pittsburgh better watch out because Trevor Lawrence was one of the biggest voices in saying that they were not happy about that. So I think Clemson's really gonna give Pitt something to remember. But let's go ahead and actually move on to our top 25 matchups.
Yeah, because Notre Dame and number 1 Alabama, they've both proved that they deserve to be where they're at, and this top 4 doesn't look like it's going to change.
No.
Unless by some miracle Ohio State loses to Illinois. So, but yeah, let's go ahead and get into that. Let's start talking about it.
All right, let's do it.
All right, so getting into this. Number 1, Alabama versus number 22, Auburn.
Alabama.
Yep, we already went over it. Alabama.
Number 2, Notre Dame versus number 19, UNC. We've already gone over it. Yep. Notre Dame.
Notre Dame. Okay. Number 3, Clemson versus unranked Pitt.
Clemson.
Clemson, that's easy. There's no way Pitt comes out with this.
No way.
Number 4, Ohio State versus unranked Illinois.
You know how good it would feel so good if Illinois won this.
Oh my gosh, I know.
But Ohio State's going to win this.
Yeah, I'll have to go with Ohio State as well. I don't think Illinois can pull this out. All right, number 5, Texas A&M versus unranked LSU. This could be a good matchup. I'm not sure, but it could.
Yeah, it could be. Now, will it? I'm not too sure, but just by how LSU has been playing and how Texas A&M's been playing, LSU is still trying to figure out their whole quarterback's position. So I'm gonna say Texas A&M here.
Dude, I'm gonna go with the upset. I'm gonna say LSU. I think that they might be able to do it. It's probably not likely at all for them to win, but I don't know. Some of my gut is just saying LSU.
That is what Georgia would need, though.
Yeah.
They would need a Texas A&M loss soon.
Well, maybe it's not my gut. Maybe it's just Georgia. So.
Yeah.
All right, number 6, Florida versus unranked Kentucky.
Florida.
Oh, yeah, there's no way. Kentucky just lost by like 40 points to Alabama and didn't even score
It wasn't
a
even
touchdown.
40. It was like 60.
Dude, well, literally, Kentucky hasn't been able to score against any big opponent all season. They didn't score on Georgia. They didn't score on Alabama. So they're probably not going to score on Florida again. Now, we don't know because Florida's defense isn't the best in the SEC, but it's good enough.
But it's up there.
Absolutely. So
Number 7,
Florida.
Cincinnati versus Temple. Canceled. I mean, now it's just not looking like good chances for Cincinnati at all. But, yeah.
Well, Cincinnati would have won that either way. There's
100%.
That'd have just been a
But
free
because
win.
it's canceled, it's like,
Yeah. All right, number 8, Northwestern versus unranked Michigan. Northwestern,
Michigan State, too.
they're up pretty high.
Yeah, I don't agree with it.
Yeah, me either. So I think Georgia deserves to be ranked above them.
But I don't see them losing to Michigan State. I'm choosing Northwestern.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the upset, Michigan State, for 2 reasons. 1, I like picking the upset. And 2, I need Georgia to go up in the rankings.
I got you. No, I don't. The only reason they're ranked number 8 is because they beat Wisconsin. But I think soon Northwestern is going to be showing that they don't.
Yeah, and Wisconsin is some trash, and they're not even going to be eligible for the playoffs. So.
Yeah, after that Minnesota canceling their game, they're not going to be eligible.
All right, next up we have number 9, Georgia versus unranked USC. Okay, before we talk about this game, I've got to go on a tangent. It's my turn. 2 words. Well, a name. JT Daniels. What a player. This dude showed up on Saturday against Mississippi State. He threw for 401 yards, which hasn't been done at Georgia since Aaron Murray, 4 touchdowns, and no interceptions. This dude was dropping bombs left and right, hitting players wide open field, throwing huge passes downfield, and it was insane. And he said after the game, when asked about the Georgia receiving corps, you want to know what he said?
What did he say?
He said, if you're not going to throw to him, don't recruit him. And I was like, that's tough. And he just played a great game, and I was so right. Now, I understand Coach Smart's decision to hold him out. He was holding him out for so long to make sure that his knee had completely healed from his ACL injury August 30th, 2019. So, totally understand that. But I think he waited a little long because now we're number 9 in the playoff rankings. We need to get to number 4. It's not likely that it's going to happen. And I think that JT Daniels in the last game was probably the only reason we're in the top 10 because our defense played like crap and we have 2 losses on our schedule. So they're probably just still seeing us as a powerhouse in the SEC and JT Daniels. That's it. And our strength of schedule. We had to play Florida and Alabama early season.
And I mean, they're probably also looking at it and they're going, well, there's also a chance that Florida could lose 2 more games and Georgia's back in the SEC championship. Will that actually happen? Probably not. But I mean, I think they're looking at it and they're going, with JT Daniels in, this offense is looking a lot more powerful than it was when he wasn't. And you know what? They have a chance if these things work out for them. So they're putting them in a position where if these things happen, they can get back in it. But will they? Probably not. But
no. So the whole point of this tangent, though, is to say that I was right the entire time. JT Daniels came in. We made huge plays. Georgia got a lot better. We went up to number 9 in the playoff rankings, and the future is looking bright. I heard somebody say the JT Daniels era has arrived, and I am here for it. But looking into this week, UGA versus unranked South Carolina. Dude, UGA all the way. There's no way South Carolina wins this game. I don't want to hear it. I don't care what happened last year between the hedges at Sanford Stadium. There was a terrible game. Jake Fromm played a terrible game. And now they don't have Muschamp. There's no way Georgia can lose this game.
I'm even surprised that I'm hearing some people still say USC has a chance. There's just no way. I mean, just the way there's just no way. I was trying to find an argument for it. There's just no way.
It's impossible.
South Carolina's missing
J.C. Horn, their star cornerbacks.
They're 2 star cornerbacks, and they're gone with their head coach. So
Mike Bobo is not up to par with the coaching skills of Coach Smart. So
100%. And you also got. I don't know.
UGA is going to outplay them. The defense is going to destroy them, and Coach Smart is going to outcoach Mike Bobo. So.
Who is his friend, too.
Yeah.
So.
All right, moving on. Number 10, Miami, bye week. Number 11, Oklahoma versus unranked West Virginia.
So, I was looking at the Power Index earlier this week, and they said that Oklahoma, there's no shot West Virginia wins this. I haven't looked at it recently, but this is hard because it's a battle of 2 offenses, and I feel like I always say that with games like that are tough, but this is quite truly a battle of offenses. Neither team has a defense to save their life, but I think Oklahoma comes out with this.
My theme today is picking the upsets, so I'm going to go with West Virginia. Their record is really similar, 6-2 and 5-3. That's really close. Mm-hmm. I think it could go in either way, like you're talking about with offenses. So I'm going to go pick the upset. I'm going to pick West Virginia.
All right.
Number 12, Indiana versus unranked Maryland. Oh, my God.
Maryland.
Oh, yeah. We're going Maryland, and that's the upset.
Let's be real, though. This is not an upset. We've been calling Maryland to be a good team not this entire season, but after Tua's brother started showing up and such, we really noticed that Maryland was actually a pretty competitive team. So, and I think that Indiana still deserves to be lower. Do I think they deserve to be out of the top 25? I'm not too sure yet, but I think Maryland could definitely win this. So I'm going to go with Maryland.
Well, to be fair, to speak to that, I don't even think that Indiana deserves to be out of the top 25 at all. I think they deserve to be still in the top 15. I think their spot is deserved right where they are. They played a great game against Ohio State. I think that they could do better than they have been, but, they lost to Ohio State, so it's deserved where they are. I don't think they're going to beat Maryland, though. I think, and the only reason I said that Maryland is the upset is based on the FPI. The FPI puts Indiana above Maryland. Mm-hmm. Now, we've been saying that has been wrong a lot. But, yeah, I see that, Maryland definitely pulls this out and wins it. Tua's little brother is insane, and he's been driving the offense. Their defense has been playing really well. I see Maryland taking this one. All right, number 13, Iowa State versus number 17, Texas.
This was in contention for one of our top 2 games, and it's looking even better, but I don't know. I think that Texas has a chance, but I think Iowa State's run offense is really good. I'm sticking with Iowa State here.
Yeah, I think that Iowa State can pull this out too. They're 6-2, Texas and 5-2. Again, a really great matchup, really evenly matched. But still, yeah, I'm going to go with Iowa State as well. I think they can pull it out. I don't think Texas can do it. Mm-hmm. Number 14, BYU. Bye week.
We got 15, Oregon versus unranked Oregon State.
Another rival. It's weird. This season, all the rival games have been happening
so early.
And so, weird. It's been 1 week this teams, 1 week these teams, mm-hmm. 1 week these teams, because a lot of these matchups are happening within conference, right? So, mm-hmm. Clemson, Carolina can't play because it's ACC and SEC. Georgia Tech can't play because it's ACC, SEC. So, we've been getting a lot of these weird, rival games, but it's been interesting at the same time. So, but yeah, I would go ahead and say that Oregon's going to win this. They're playing Oregon State, who's 1-2, and they're also unranked. So, I'm going to go with Oregon.
I'm going to go with Oregon just because, yeah, same thing as you. Number 16, Wisconsin versus unranked Minnesota.
Canceled.
Oh, yeah, it's canceled. Shoot.
All right, number 18, USC versus unranked Colorado. And I would like to point out that Joey was wrong again last week.
And I'm going to be wrong this week. I'm going Colorado, baby.
And I'm going USC. The real USC. Sorry, Abby. All right, number 20, Coastal Carolina versus unranked Texas Tech. Dude, I'm laughing like looking at that record. 2-9 under Texas State, and Carolina still 8-0. Yeah, dude, Coastal takes this one. It's easy.
100% Coastal Carolina here.
All right, number 21, Marshall.
Bye week. Oklahoma State, number 23, versus unranked Texas Tech.
Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I still don't think Texas Tech can do it. It'll probably be an interesting game to say the least, but no. Oklahoma State. Number 24, Iowa versus unranked Nebraska. I go with Iowa.
I'll go with Iowa.
Yeah, I mean, that's another toss-up, but they're number 24. Nebraska's unranked.
Nebraska's 1-3.
Yeah, I'd go with Iowa. All right. Our biggest matchup of the week right here. That's a joke. Just kidding.
Mm-hmm.
Number 25, Tulsa versus unranked Houston has been postponed. So, yeah, that's the top 25 matchups. All right, let's go ahead and move into the NFL.
So, ladies and gentlemen, as promised, the NFL is on TBD SportsCast this week. We're bringing in a new friend, a new colleague. Mason, take it away.
So, new to TBD SportsCast this week, bringing in my best friend, Michael Russo. How you doing, man?
Doing great, man. How you been? It's been
Doing
a minute
good.
I've seen you.
Heck yeah. So, Michael's coming into the podcast to help us make this transition into the NFL. So, he's a huge Falcons fan, huge Georgia fan. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about that, and we can kind of get into this.
Yeah, man. I am one of probably the most loyal Falcons fan on this planet. No, I'm kidding. I'm definitely up there, man. I mean, I've known you for a while. Me and Mason, we went to school together. We did drumline together. We're both drummers. So I've known Mason for a while, and we've both been Atlanta Falcons fans, Georgia fans. So me and him share a lot of the same pain. We text a lot during, certain games, and we're like, that really just happened because
Constantly depressed.
if you know anything about being a Falcons fan or just a Georgia sports fan in general, you just know it usually is just a lot of heartbreak. So
There's a
me and
curse.
Mason share that, and so and a lot of heartbreak. For the last since 28-3. Let's just be honest.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, super glad to have you on, Michael.
Yeah,
All
there
right,
you go.
Joey, take it away.
So you bring up you're both very big Atlanta fans, of course. Let's go ahead and jump into how did you feel about the Falcons Saints game? Like, what did you take away from that?
Man, oh man, it was very hard to watch because honestly, it was probably the worst game played of the season. Right next to the Packers game on Monday night a few weeks ago, and it just showed me that we really need to clean house at the end of the year because that was just, you had the bye week and you had 2 weeks to prepare for, your division rival, the Saints. We hate the Saints. The Saints I don't like the Saints. That's just
Some trash.
arguably the best rivalry in football, next to Pittsburgh, Baltimore. But I think Atlanta, New Orleans is top.
No, I can feel you on that. I'm a Panthers fan, and I hate the Saints.
Yeah, we don't like you guys either, but we don't hate you guys as much. But yeah, I mean, the game was just so we came out so flat, and it was very disappointing to see, just how flat you come out when you have 2 weeks to prepare, and you just really don't recover. The biggest thing besides one of the biggest things that made me more mad was just after halftime, there was not a single adjustment really made. It was the same things in the first half that didn't work, and they just kept trying to bank on maybe we'll get it this time. The lack of pre-snap motion, the lack of calling a decent run game. You have all these weapons. You have Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, Matt Ryan, Todd Gurley, Hayden Hurst, Russell Gage. It doesn't make any sense to me how you have arguably, a top 5 roster on paper, but you have, Dirk Cutter as the offensive coordinator. And that was honestly the biggest thing coming into this season was last season started 1-7, ended 6-2, and there was talks about firing Dan Quinn. But I at the beginning of the season, I didn't think it was a bad choice to keep him because based on who was available at the end of last year, I was like, you know what, maybe one more season with Dan Quinn wouldn't be bad. But the biggest thing was they kept Dirk Cutter as the offensive coordinator, and that is honestly what is the biggest problem with the team is that the offensive coordinator is just so bad. And you just saw that all over. All the tape is just bad on that game this past weekend. And it's all, the defense did its thing, but, they can't get off the field, so that's what's going to happen when the defense stays on the field, man. So my biggest thing is at the end of the year, clean house, especially get rid of Dirk Cutter. I mean, they can keep Raheem Morris. I mean, I think Raheem Morris has done all right, but, biggest thing is Dirk Cutter needs to go, man. Dirk Cutter needs to go.
Yeah,
so I can't wait for that to happen.
Yeah, and Atlanta hasn't had, a great year in a while since we were in, the Super Bowl with New England. We haven't done really anything since then. We've kind of had a steady decline, and
Yeah, I mean, after 2017 really was the true, we were a play away from going to the championship game in 2017. But then again, you had, Steve Sarkisian as the offensive coordinator then. But it's just upsetting, man. It's very painful to watch as a fan that really wants the team to succeed, and that it's just really, really tough now.
And did Atlanta even score a touchdown on Sunday?
No, man. That's what I'm just saying.
Yeah, field goals. Yeah, field goals.
Field goals only. I mean, hey, Young Hoku's going to the Pro Bowl probably. He's
great kicker
right now. He's leading right now in Pro Bowl votes for kickers in NFC. But I mean, like I said, you have all the weapons: Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, Hayden Hurst, Todd Gurley. But you scored 9 points, dude. Come on, man.
Yeah, that's got to be play calling. Yeah, that's what it comes down to. It's play calling.
It's 100% Dirk Cutter, man. Because I mean, you just look at the stats. We're dead last in pre-snap motion. We're dead last on running. No, I think we're the number one team that runs on second down when you shouldn't run on second down.
Mm-hmm.
And the analytics show that you shouldn't run on second down, but we run to set up a third and manageable when it's no, man, you got to be aggressive all the time. He's just too conservative when you need to be aggressive. It's just it gets me heated.
So going off of that, would you say that it's less of your opponents being better than y'all and more of y'all are just hurting yourselves?
I mean, I'm not going to say the Saints defense, is it's I don't want to. I'm not trying to bash them. But
they're not as good as a few years ago, they were.
Yeah, they were definitely beatable. I mean, they were down Marcus Lattimore, which is the top cornerback, and I mean, they have Cam Jordan, who's I think he's sacked Matt Ryan more than any defensive lineman, because he tends to always have a big game against us. But I mean, we just coming into this game, we were 3-1 because we lost to Detroit by a game-losing touchdown, which honestly, and that's another example of just Dirk Cutter. I didn't blame Todd Gurley on losing the Detroit game because he scored a touchdown. The defense couldn't hold a lead for a minute. Come on, man. I'm not gonna blame that on him. But at the same time, it's he came out in a press conference after that game and was yeah, we probably should have just kick the field goal there. And it's okay, if you should have done that, why would you call a play that potentially could lead to a score? And it doesn't make any sense. Why are you putting them into that position when it could end badly? But then again, it's your defense should be able to hold on to the lead for a minute. So I'm not going to blame that one on the offense. But I mean, still, the coaching is what got us there in the first place. And the coaching is what the problem is with the Falcons this year.
Absolutely.
So,
and, I mean, and the Saints are still a really hard team to beat either way, especially this year. I mean, they destroyed the Buccaneers a couple weeks ago.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, they're a good team, but I mean, come on, it was Taysom Hill's first start. He shouldn't look like a Hall of Famer. It's his first start. I mean, he's Walmart Lamar Jackson. So, how do you let that happen? But hey, the Falcons have always been the get right team. If your team has a bad week, you play the Falcons the upcoming week, you're probably going to get right against them because the Falcons are just that team, man.
Yeah.
I'm tired of being that team, man. I'm hoping that the era is changed after this season.
I hope the curse is broken eventually.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on Moving on into the Panthers-Vikings game. So this is one for Joey because Joey's the Panthers fan. So you want to go ahead and take that away, buddy?
Yeah, I would just like to appreciate. I would like to hear your opinion on this game. See what you think about it. I know the Vikings. They're all right. They got a great wide receiver core, but their defense is lackluster this year. Meanwhile, the Panthers, they're just building. They're rebuilding.
It's pretty. I mean, they're for a rebuilding team. I mean, they held Detroit scoreless, I believe, last week, and that was pretty cool. And no Teddy Bridgewater with PJ Walker starting, which is cool because he's one of the. You wouldn't expect him to do what he did because he came from the XFL and all this and that. But I mean, he's still a good quarterback. But I mean, the Panthers are the 9th ranked offense in the league, and the Vikings are 10th. Panthers are 11th in passing, and the Vikings are 19th, which is crazy because they have Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson. But Adam Thielen, I think, is going to be hurt for this game, so I don't know if he's going to play. Panthers are 14th in rushing, and the Vikings are 6th. But they got Dalvin Cook, so that's obviously.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we're missing out on McCaffrey.
Yeah, that is so. It sucks to hear that because. Well, aside from me having him in fantasy in one of my leagues, he's a big weapon to the Panthers, and it's just like to see him not able to play. And I know he played. I think he played with the Chiefs game, and then he gets hurt. It's like that sucks because he's
back,
out for the minute he comes back, he gets hurt and he's gone again. It's just like damn. But I mean, Mike Davis is good. I mean, I think he's. I'm pretty sure that they're going to keep him around next season as well. So healthy McCaffrey, healthy Mike Davis. I mean, that's pretty good, running back duo you got there.
Yeah, so who do you think will win the game?
I think it'll be the Vikings in a close one, to be honest with you.
A close one? All right.
But then again, well, I mean, it could go – it'll be very – I think it's too close to call, because no Adam Thielen, but they have Dalvin Cook, but the Panthers are pretty healthy, but no Teddy Bridgewater. I don't think there's any, big wide receiver injury with Curtis Samuel or DJ Moore or anything like that. I mean, it'll be a pretty close game. I'm pretty sure it'll be entertaining to watch for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But I think Kirk Cousins may be 1-9 on Monday Night Football, and they say all these bad stats about him. But I think he's definitely a better quarterback than PJ Walker, so that might be a little bit of an advantage.
Yeah.
But I think I'm going to take the Vikings in a very close one. We're talking a 3-point difference here.
All right.
Yeah. What do you think, Joey?
I'm on the fence. I'm just going to choose the Panthers because PJ Walker came out last weekend and just absolutely destroyed the Lions. Granted, it is the Lions, but, I mean, he came out and he proved himself, and he proved that he deserved to be over Will Grier. So, I mean, I was proud to be a Panthers fan last weekend. The weekend before that, debatable, but
that was the weekend before that was Chiefs, right?
Yeah, where
it was Tampa Bay. It was Tampa Bay, wasn't it?
Yeah, Tampa Bay, and the week before that was the Chiefs. Yeah, Tampa Bay, we got killed.
Yeah, I did see some plays from that game.
Yeah,
that run with Ronald Jones, man. I was just like, how do you let that happen? That's like a Madden play. I play that on Madden. That's what happens.
I'll always be a Panthers fan, but some weekends I'm less of one than others.
So you guys both make some very compelling arguments, as far as both teams, and I'm probably just gonna pick the Vikings because I'm a Falcons fan and I like the Panthers. So hey,
well, of course we can't. We don't want any division teams to win a game. I mean, technically, we're still mathematically in the hunt for the playoffs now. So hey, I want the Falcons to go.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think the Vikings will win, but I think the Panthers will be. Yeah, it'll be a close one. I mean, they played the Chiefs tight. They may have lost a point.
Yeah, now
that was crazy.
Our offensive line breaking down late game. It shouldn't have happened. We could have easily won that game, but we broke down. So
yeah.
Hey, that's what happened with the Falcons last weekend as well. Offensive line couldn't do nothing. I mean, the wide receivers couldn't get open. Matt Ryan gets sacked 8 times. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah.
It's what a mess.
So before we move on to our top game of the week for the NFL, I know Mason told me you had something to speak about Lamar Jackson. I always wanted to hear it from you before we got into our top game.
Well, I've been a fan of Lamar Jackson since college. And, in the NFL when he came through, like, I've always rooted for him because I've always liked him as a player, as a person. And, last year, he did what he did and, rightfully won MVP, I mean, Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes, but, what Lamar Jackson did last year was pretty cool. This year, a lot of people are coming for him. And I'm just like, dude, like, first of all, I wrote this down. I saw this and I need to share it. So Lamar Jackson can hit the open man 100%. Like, he can hit – if the receiver's open, he'll hit him, like, straight up. But the problem is the receivers can't get open. And he's playing with, in my opinion, I don't think the Ravens receiving core is, like, great at all. I mean, you got Willie Snead, and, he's not –
You got Willie Snead and Des Bryant. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, Hollywood Brown is good, but lately he's been putting on some really bad tape. And like last week, he's dropping passes left and right. And I'm just like,
after he complained about not being passed the ball enough and
I'm just like, dude, it's crazy. And like, people want to say, Lamar Jackson, overhyped. He's not that great. He's not, now everyone thinks he is. And I'm like, yo, I mean, I'm pretty sure if you gave this man top tier receivers, it'd be a different story. I mean, last year, they really didn't know how to stop him because like the offense was, I guess, new in some way. I mean, they didn't have a good hold on how to stop him. I mean, obviously they lost in the playoffs to the Titans, and like, that was crazy to see because I don't think anyone saw that coming. But now it's just like, I think the receivers are the problem on the team. I mean, but then again, the running the ball, it is a little bit predictable. I mean, watching some of the game, you kind of, he did a press conference where he was like, yeah, like the defenses are calling out our plays. And I'm like, well, when you're a run heavy team, it kind of is a little bit predictable. So, I mean, I can kind of see where they're going with, but like, I don't think Lamar's a problem, man. I think they need to give him some more weapons. And that's it. I mean, another stat that I saw was Lamar Jackson is 6-4. He got a 2.5 touchdown interception ratio, 63 completion percentage. Tom Brady is 7-4, 2.7 touchdown interception ratio, and a 66 completion percentage. Tom Brady has Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, Gronk, Scotty Miller, Ronald Jones, and Fournette. Lamar Jackson has Mark Andrews, a rookie running back, Hollywood Brown, and Willie Snead. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
He has J.K. Dobbins too, right? But he hasn't been big. Yeah, he was. Yeah. All right. So for our big game, we decided to choose the Chiefs Buccaneers game, mostly because it's between Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes, probably arguably the two best quarterbacks in the league. I mean,
you got the old GOAT,
yeah,
and you got the new GOAT.
Exactly.
So. No, I mean it's gonna be a great game, 100%. I think the Chiefs are definitely going to win without a doubt because if you watched the Buccaneers play against the Rams on Monday night, you saw a lot of the same problems that Atlanta has as far as the offense being a little bit too vanilla, and Tom Brady is also 43 years old, and it's I don't think it will be as close as people would want it to be. I think it'll be a little bit of a blowout, to be honest with you, because Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. You got the fastest wide receivers in the league. Future Falcons head coach Eric Bieniemy is the offensive coordinator, so that's going to, he's way better than the offensive coordinator down there. What's his name? Byron Leftwich in Tampa. So like, Chiefs, no question at all.
I gotcha. I agree with you on that. My biggest thing is if the Chiefs' defense can stand up, because the only thing that keeps playing in my mind is a few years ago how the Chiefs had the best offense out there, but their defense was the only reason why they couldn't keep up, So my thing is if the Chiefs' defense can keep up with Tom Brady, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, Leonard Fournette, Ronald Jones, I mean, then they definitely are going to win this game.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the another thing too would be the Saints game that they played, Tampa Bay 2 weeks ago. It was like think it was like 38-3 was the final score, I believe.
Yeah.
3 points, man, and you got all those weapons you just lifted off. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It can definitely be done. And the Chiefs are, they've been Super Bowl champs. They got Andy Reid coaching. Like, I don't think they would have a problem keeping up with them. They just got to game plan correctly. I mean, you gotta blitz Tom Brady like crazy. I mean, you got to get him off the spot, and they got people to do that. I mean, Tyrann Mathieu, arguably one of the top safeties in the league. As far as like cornerbacks go, I mean, they got some young guys, but Tyrann Mathieu's like the
Breland, right?
Yeah, he's good. He's a solid player, but I mean, and they can hang. They can definitely hang with the Bucs offense, and I'm pretty sure they're watching a lot of the film from the New Orleans game where they only held to 3 points to game plan correctly, which they should.
Yeah.
Which that's what the Falcons should definitely do when we play them too.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I got the Chiefs. He's got the Chiefs. What do you got, Mason?
Dude, the Chiefs. There's no way that the Buccaneers can pull this out. I don't see it. I mean, they just, like you said, they played terribly against the Rams on Monday night. They played terribly against the Saints a couple weeks ago.
Well, I wouldn't say they played terribly. I would just say that when it mattered most, which is such a cliche thing to say when it comes to football in general, is like, when you got to make the play, you got to make the play. And when Tom Brady needed to make a play to tie the game to get in the field goal range, dude throws a pick. He overthrows his receiver like 10 yards off the spot and throws a pick. Like, you're Tom Brady, dude. Like, you're not supposed to do that.
Exactly.
And can we also mention that he didn't go to midfield and shake Jared Goff's hand after the game. Sore loser.
Wow.
Yeah, that was after the Cubs game. Yeah,
I didn't even know
the Cubs
that.
game, the Bears game.
Yeah, Nick Foles too. He did it to Nick Foles. He did Nick Foles and Jared Goff. So it's like, come on, man.
Yeah,
you're supposed to be the GOAT.
It's like the older he gets, he just cannot,
Yeah, you can't take a loss. He's like, but I mean, he's got so much money. I don't think it matters. But whatever.
I mean, yeah, he's just a sore loser.
But it's still out of respect, man. You got to go over and be like, hey, man, good game. Like, you did that. You really did that.
Yeah, 100%.
Good game.
Yeah, and he gets pissy and he's like, I'm mad.
I'm Tom Brady and I've done this, and that.
Wipes his tears with his $100 bills.
I mean, hey.
My gosh.
It's cool. He did what he's done what he's done, respect, I respect him for what he's done, but I mean, like, right now is the present, and you just lost because of what you did, which is throw a pick when you need to not throw a pick,
Yeah.
You can't be mad at anybody but yourself, man. Like, Jared Goff played a pretty good game. You're not going to go over there and be like, hey, like, good game. Like,
So,
sore loser.
Yeah.
Well, Michael, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, seriously, thank you so much, man. Good to have you on here.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.
Cool. All right,
Sure.
so that's everything then.
Yeah, for sure.
Everything.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. All right, thank you so much, Michael.
And that concludes today's episode of TBD SportsCast.
Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed.
Make sure to go follow us on Instagram and other social media platforms at TBD_SportsCast.
I'm Mason,
I'm Joey.
and this has been TBD Sportscast.
Goodbye.
Peace out.